we're going to talk through it. There is not a lot of changes for this round, so it's going to be very similar, almost exactly identical to the summer round. So we will go through that information. We'll give you just a few minutes to answer questions at the end, and then Michael will talk about opportunities to ask other questions as you go through the process. So let me introduce who is on the call. Many of you have already met Michael Engelhardt. Michael is our new Housing Trust Fund Manager. It's been fantastic having him on the team, and now with this being his second RFP, we're going to call him a seasoned Housing Trust Fund Manager at this point. Also on the call, and if you have any technical issues, is Janine Simmons. She's our housing administrative support person, and she's fantastic. So if something's going wrong and you can't figure it out, you can please either chat with her through Teams, or you can call her, and Janine's number is 704-336-5860. So 704-336-5860, and she'll try to help you out with your technical issues. If you are unable to connect or hear very well or ask a question, this is being recorded. It will be posted at the end of the week, and you'll be able to directly ask questions. So that is Michael, and that is Janine. We will also, I believe, have Brent Wilkinson with planning joining us. I don't see him on the call yet, but if he is able to join us, he's going to talk to you a little bit about the work from the planning perspective. And not speaking today, but joining us, and you may receive emails or phone calls from her later on. We're very excited that Ruth Eppolito has joined our team as a housing projects manager, working with Michael and I in the housing services group, trying to provide you enhanced customer service as our load of projects that we are working on seems to continue to increase. I think that's all of my announcements, so I'm going to go on mute and go off camera and let Michael walk through the RFP. Take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Warren, and thanks everybody for being here today. I know several of you are traveling for conferences and are probably tired of hearing people speak, so I'll try to keep this pretty short and brief so we can spend most of our time with questions and answers if there are any. But just a little background about the Housing Trust Fund. The Housing Trust Fund is guided by the Housing Charlotte framework, which is built on 3 pillars. The first being to create new affordable housing, second, to preserve existing affordable housing, and 3, creating family self-sufficiency. And the Housing Trust Fund is probably our most powerful vehicle for accomplishing those 3 goals outlined in the Housing Charlotte framework. So as many of you are probably familiar with by now, especially if you've gone through this process, is the review process of what that looks like. So first we announced the RFP, post that online, which has been done today, and we have this kickoff meeting to chat with you folks. From there, a few weeks later, we will be announcing, or I'm sorry, not a few weeks later, once applications are submitted in January, we will notify City Council of all applications and begin our review. From there, proposal summaries are sent to City Council with our recommendations, as well as, which is then followed by the City Council action review meeting. And then followed by that is the actual vote on approving those funds. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is the investment review, where we review the offers at hand. Phase 3 is we go through the funding piece, which is typically contingent on LIHTC award, if applicable, especially for those 9% awards. And then phase 4, construction and monitoring, once those projects are, breaking ground. You can see here the schedule for this winter RFP cycle. RFP was posted this morning, November 16th. If it hasn't shown up on your end yet, just give it a few hours. Our team's working on getting that posted. There is going to be a new component to this cycle, which we'll go into, but there will be a pre-submittal meeting with the planning department. And then the deadline everyone is interested in is the January 26th deadline for applications. I believe that is a week after the preliminary applications are due to NCHFA. From there, our planning review period begins, as well as staff review in the housing department reviewing those applications. The City Council action review meeting, where we'll be presenting proposals to City Council, will be on April 8th, and then projects will be formally approved on April 22nd, giving you a few weeks before the NCHFA final application deadline for those 9% projects. And we'll come back to that schedule as well here momentarily, but just to dive into the substance of the presentation here. So the Housing Trust Fund was established in 2001. As many of you know, this is funded through voter-approved general obligation bonds that are done on a biannual basis. Since 2002, we've invested over $270 million to fund over 12,000 units and shelter beds. So eligible projects, those are the ones that you're most of you are familiar with, are these multifamily new construction renovation, single family new construction, as well as supportive housing renovation and new construction. Projects that are ineligible are basically anything not outlined in the RFP. If we do not have it explicitly listed, likely it is not eligible. So that includes projects that are under construction, acquisitions. If you are interested in acquisitions, please see our open NOAA RFP, which is rolling and continuously accepting applications as funds are available. And then again, any project that's outside the scope of the RFP. So what does the fund do? It provides gap financing to both nonprofit and for-profit developers for affordable housing throughout the city. We offer flexible structuring to make sure that these terms are friendly to our developer partners, to make sure that we're bringing this much needed product to market. Most critically, at least 20% of the units must be targeted to 30% area median income households. So a typical financing structure, as most of you know, this is soft financing. It's flexible subordinate loans. We do require, however, a minimum of a 40-year affordability period. If you didn't participate in the most recent summer cycle, that has increased by 10 years. The previous requirement was 30 years, but I can tell you that 40 years is the new baseline, and we're really excited at the projects that we're seeing recently with even extended affordability periods. We also require a minimum debt coverage ratio of 1.15, and debt service is cash flow contingent typically. So our funding is typically, for single family development, our funding is provided as a construction subsidy or down payment assistance. The units must be deed restricted and remain affordable for no less than 15 years. Of course, we're always interested in projects that go beyond the minimum affordability periods, but for single family, it is the 15-year period. We do support land trust or shared equity models and encourage those applications. And we're also very supportive of developments in locations of high opportunity and or offering ADUs. There's a big initiative at the city to move forward with ADUs, especially in light of the UDL. And then supportive housing. So this must meet a continuum of care, recognize supportive housing need in the community, whether that's homelessness, mental health, justice involvement, or some other form of supportive housing that you can identify. This provides both housing and sufficient services to stabilize residents, and it must be nonprofit owned and operated. The leverage ratio is considerably lower than what's required for our other projects, and that minimum ratio is going to be 1 to 2. So funding sources for this cycle's Housing Development Fund, as you may have noticed, we go back and forth between the Housing Trust Fund and the Housing Development Fund. So the Housing Trust Fund is really just one component of this Housing Development Fund. And this application cycle is for the full Housing Development Fund, which includes Housing Trust Fund, as well as our federal sources, such as CDBG funds, home funds, or HOPWA. We've had a few partners in the most recent cycle who were awarded HOPWA funding, and we are working with them to bring those funds to fruition. And then also, I don't think we have any of our friends from the county here today, but we're also interested in piloting this local rental subsidy program. We can chat a little bit more about that perhaps at the end. So program updates, these are current as of the most recent summer cycle. So new construction multifamily developments will be reviewed in 2 tiers, right? So there's tier 1 projects, which are projects that meet the tier 1 funding limits, which I believe are currently $38,000 per unit. They also agree to accept some or all of their awarded federal funding. If they're eligible for the NCHFA RPP funding, rental production program funding, they are applying for that, or developments that are located in District 6 or 7. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is going to be every other project that is a multifamily project that does not meet those tier 1 requirements. Importantly, all of our project types are going to be reviewed separately. So if you're submitting a supportive housing application, that is going to be reviewed in comparison to other supportive housing applications. If you're presenting or proposing a single family development, we're going to be comparing that with other single family development projects. So what's new in the most recent cycle as of this summer? So the new RFP and submittal structure, Warren did a great job of streamlining that application form. If some of you applied in the most recent summer cycle, you have seen that. It's very intuitive to use compared to our previous format, and it really walks you through step by step. And then also there's this housing data sheet, which allows you to input basic project information as well as ownership information into it for our ease of use. There's going to be a multifamily version as well as a single family version, and you'll see that clearly indicated in the RFP documents. We also have increased CBI requirements, which is going to be reflected in section 3.6.7. There are also additional city preferences. So team force housing, perpetual affordability, and then updated geographies. One of the things, since we are able to use home funding outside of city limits, we've been partnering with the county to identify projects outside of Charlotte city limits to address this regional problem that we're having, right? It's recognizing that the housing crisis isn't just focused in the city of Charlotte. This is a county-wide and region-wide challenge, and we've been working successfully with some of our partners to address that through those funds. That is for the home fund specifically. Housing trust funds, CDBG funds, those have to be used within city limits. And then, oh, I'm sorry, jumped ahead. And then I'm not sure, Warren, do you see if Brent is here?
He is. So Brent,
oh, okay.
Brent and or Nan can come off mute. If there he is.
And I'll introduce Brent here. So Brent is our planning project manager, and he is going to chat through the most recent requirement, which is this planning pre-submittal meeting along with Nan. We're really excited about this. We think it'll go a long way in terms of clarifying some processes. So with that, I will kick it over to Brent and Nan. Nan, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Oh, Brent, we can't hear you. Oh. Brent, it shows you're still on mute.
Can you hear me now, Nan?
Now we can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
No
yes. Thank you, Michael and Warren, for the opportunity to speak. Nan Peterson and myself, we're part of the land development team here in planning. Just wanted to highlight a new piece of the schedule this year that we think is going to be extremely helpful, which is the planning pre-submittal meeting. This meeting will be held prior to the actual HTF submittal. We have found that with the implementation of the UDO in the last round of Housing Trust Fund applications that we had a lot of questions related to the UDO. So we feel that this process is going to help maybe answer some of those questions at a very high level. We are still kind of working through the final details of what how the meeting is going to function. But Nan Peterson is going to be the point of contact for those meetings to help us get those scheduled. And then as you can see here on the schedule, the deadline to contact Nan is December the 15th, and then we will hold all the meetings on Friday, January the 12th. That's our goal, depending on how many applications that we do get in. This information is in the packet of information that Michael has sent out. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to Nan and myself, and we'll be happy to help you with those. But other than that, the remainder of the schedule is pretty straightforward as it has been in the past. So that's all I've got. Nan, I don't know if you want to jump in and say anything or not, but that's all I have at this time.
No, I think Brent, you covered it beautifully. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thanks. We really appreciate you guys joining us today. And that is actually going to segue us into the questions and answers. And so if any folks want to come offline, ask any questions regarding the RFP or the new planning requirements, I'll kick it over to Warren. It looks like, Warren, you may have something to add.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer 3 questions that I know are going to be asked. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer them. Someone's going to ask how much money is available. Currently, the trust fund has a balance around $9 million in it. I would be surprised that if we don't exhaust that amount this round, which would mean that we would most likely not have a summer FY25 round, and then our next round out of the trust fund would be, if the voters approve bonds, would be winter this time next year. So our winter after FY25. So that's one question that I figured you'd ask. So I go ahead and answer it for you. The next one, I know you're going to ask questions about around the rental subsidy. You can refer to the RFP and see how it's written in there. Again, all we're asking you for in the RFP is, would you be interested / willing in participating in a rental subsidy pilot similar to the rental subsidy pilot that we've been doing with the NOAA project? This would be over and above the rental subsidy limits that you would put in the application. So if you submitted 20% of your units at 30%, we would pilot this money being used to further subsidize other units to that low of an AMI. Again, as a pilot, so that we can see how it works when we're doing new construction, and to do the work of showing our city county leadership kind of an innovative way to use future tax subsidies. So that's as far as we are with it. Again, I can't provide you any more information because we're still working on that, but it's just a checkbox in the actual application where you would say yes or no. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to our planning group. They always come off cool, calm, and collected, but they are extremely busy trying to provide good customer service to all of our development partners in the city of Charlotte that are building under the new UDO. And for them to take a day to reserve for our affordable housing developers is a big hit in their time and their schedule, and they're doing it because they want you to be successful. So I didn't want to leave the call without sharing my appreciation with them and this schedule that Michael and Brent have worked out to hopefully make your processes moving projects forward even more streamlined. So with that, you may either chat a question or submit them into the or come off mute. And I already saw a question over in the chat, so let me take a look at that. So I think that this is going to be a question to Brent and or Nan. The question is, do we need to have a fully designed site plan for the pre-submittal Q&A meeting with planning staff, or is it more of a conceptual draft site plan?
Yeah, thanks, Warren. Yeah, so our thought is it's going to be a sketch plan level site plan. Don't need to have all the details worked out, but the more information you can provide to us, the better. But we will ask for that sketch plan when the meeting is scheduled. So there will need to be something that we can respond to. So
Great.
I hope that answers the question, but yeah, sketch plan level is what we're looking for. Good question.
If you need more specifics, just email Michael and we'll get you information. Another question was, I'm on the City of Charlotte's trust fund site. I can't find the application. Michael and or Janine, would you just go out
Yep.
to the website and drop the RFP into the chat, and we'll get that to you. The next question is, will you be looking at 4% development applications? Yeah, we had this conversation internally. We're leaving it open to all comers. We've seen some very competitive 4% applications recently. So yes, we will. We used to do it where only 9% would come in the winter. We are going to allow anyone who has a project that they'd like to be reviewed to go ahead and submit it. Great questions. The next question is, so if a development is applying for RPP, then they would automatically be considered for a tier 1 review. Michael, I believe that our answer to that is yes, that is one of the qualifiers that moves us up into tier 1.
That's right. Yeah. So it's one of the, I can go back to the tier listings here. So yes, any that are eligible and apply for in CHFA RPP funding.
Correct. Right. Going to give it just another few minutes for questions. Again, Michael, go ahead and bring your contact information up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's Michael's information. Again, this is your first opportunity and not nearly your last opportunity to ask questions. So go ahead and take down Michael's information and shoot him an email as you're looking at the application. I'm sure you'll have additional questions. And we're also happy to schedule a 30-minute call or Teams with any development partner to talk through their project to make sure that you have the information that you need to provide a very competitive proposal. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this. One more second. Did someone come off mute and want to ask another question? Okay. I just want to conclude this by saying affordable housing continues to be a top priority for our city leadership. And the only way that happens is with you. It is our goal to make your process working with us as streamlined and easy as possible so that you can continue doing the great work that you do, and that we're really appreciative of all of our development partners. So we're going to end it with the webinar now. Thank you for your time. And again, we're really excited about seeing what proposals you submit for the winter. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.